when you divide the surfaces, like the muscle is for me the division line there, so I paint them separately. You don't need to paint the whole car at once, so step by step you can make it more realistic. As you see, we added this metallic feeling already to the bonnet area as well. If you want to show your work, your sketches, your designs to a professional designer, you can always send it to me on Instagram. I used to say it a lot, but honestly nowadays I'm not able to check all the messages. But you can still send your designs to berkmydesign@gmail.com. So sometimes I pick from there, like today's review. Today I picked Bogdan, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but he's from Ukraine. I'm sorry about everything happening there, but I don't want to focus on it right now much. It's very sad. I want to focus on your designs. So I'm going to comment on his works today, and you can always send it to berkmydesign@gmail.com. So let's jump into it. Alright, Bogdan, you did a Maserati sketch here. This is the one I picked. You sent me a couple more works, but I picked this one because I want to point a couple things out. And by the way, when I'm picking your sketches, your works from this email address, I generally try to not repeat myself. So I'm trying to find a different type of approach to give different type of comments, because this is the episode 7 or 8, so you can watch other reviews already done to get the similar idea and improve your works anyway. So if I cannot pick your work, if it's not there, if I didn't directly comment on your own sketch, you can still learn from others, so definitely pay attention to other reviews as well. Alright, let's start with what I like. I like these doodles here. I always like these quick sketches because also the front is nice. Like, I like this continuous line. It has some connection between different elements of the car. It's pretty nice, and I can see it's the same car from different angles, so it's pretty cool to see them on the same page. And here we see a classical Maserati model, and I see that you took some elements directly from it, which is also pretty cool. Like, I can see the characteristics of this front grille on your sketch as well. But I want to talk a bit about how to make this sketch more appealing. Like, right now it's cool. About the perspective and proportions, more or less it is there, I think. We will also fix that. But what bothers me most is the digital painting you did there. I mean, it's cool that you have some theoretical knowledge. For example, adding the background reflections on the car is practical knowledge that adds value, but the basics are a little bit wrong. For example, here I can imagine there's a sharp line here of the car, or even if it's not sharp, like, if you remove this line work, I wouldn't understand what's happening with all the surfaces. It's a little bit too blurred and unknown, unrefined surfacing done there. So the first thing I do is I just flip the image from the other side. Always mirror your sketches before posting or before finalizing, or when you did the first sketch, first draft, just flip it, mirror it. I always say it. Also, if the sketch is on paper, if you see it from that side, always put it on a light or something and see it from the other angle. Like, I don't know if it would be visible on the camera now. From other angle you can see if there are mistakes. So that's basically what I did with your sketch. I just flipped it on Photoshop to see how it feels with this perspective and the proportions. And I want to fix it a little bit. So I try some reference lines and flipping it again. And I use the warp tool here to rotate your sketch first a little bit, because on yours it was like the front line is parallel to the grunt, and then you have this perspective line coming like this. But what I want is both of them are more dynamic rather than one is parallel to grunt. When they both have the angle and a little bit tilt the car, it will have more dynamic approach, and this is a sports car, I think, so it will fit better. And then with the warp tool I just adjust it a little bit, and then I'm sketching over yours to keep the same design and more or less the same proportions, but refining the surfaces a little bit more. So what I'm doing basically here is repeating your design but changing a little bit of the locations of the lines. And when I hide your sketch, you can see this one is now a little bit more dynamic perspective already. There are still some mistakes, I think, on, like, it would be refined more, but in general it sits better in my opinion to the ground, and it has better visual effects. Visual effects not like in the movies, but you know what I mean. And I copied this rim, I think you took also from this MC20. In your sketch, the original sketch, so I went to this image and just copied the wheel. There's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. As soon as you use the same brand for your sketch, if you are sketching a Maserati and using a existing Maserati rim, I think it's fine. Some people might say lazy, but I did a video about this before. It's about practicality sometimes, because we want to focus on the car design right now. Rim design itself is whole different level, whole different project, so it's totally fine in my opinion. I added the background rather than direct pink as you add, a little bit more less saturated and a little bit darker. So when we add this blue to the car, it will fit better, it will pop the car in a better way. And I just inverted the sketch from black to the white. This way I think it will be easier to remove and easier to blend to the car while finalizing the sketch. So here what I do is basically I made the whole side of the car darker, and whole left I didn't touch at the beginning, like on the front and top I didn't touch, because we need to decide where the light is coming from before starting painting, because if we just paint randomly it becomes very blurry and unknown. It's better to decide the light source. All this type of details, like this is not a tutorial on this video, I will just do it quickly and I will talk through it. But if you want to see all the details and how to use Photoshop, you can go to my website bertkaplan.com and you can learn from my online Photoshop course for car design. So here I'm experimenting a little bit. So in that case, the light is coming from a little bit front, a little bit from the other side of the car, and not from the left side, like right now, the right of the car, let's say. And I'm already like refining a little bit how it would be, because even if there is no big light source on that side of the car, still we should show the form. Like rather than it's totally dark blue, I'm adding the highlights and shadows, but a little bit less visible, let's say, and still adding the background reflection there already to see how it would feel. Then on this sketch I decided to block out the glass area, the yellow, and adding the background color and then black there to just block the colors to see the graphical balance of the sketch. And already adding some shadow. I like to do this freehand brush strokes for the shadow because it adds a little bit more artistic approach in my opinion, and I quite like it personally. So this is the full speed, like the real-time sketching, by the way. I like this quick brush strokes. And as you see, the sketch already started to actually be visible, like start to sit on the ground, like nice wheels, because we took from the photo, but the surfaces are already a bit more refined. Let's see what happens next. I add a little bit base interior there, a very roughly interior and a bit lowering the opacity, but it's very blurry. Like I'm not spending time to show how exactly the seats would look like, because that's not the point of this sketch. But also not leaving it totally black, the glass area, because then we don't have any depth. But when you have this a little bit transparency, we can see a little bit of the background, a little bit of the silhouette of the seats. It adds more depth to the sketch, which is definitely a good thing. And here I decided to rotate the wheels a little bit to add even more dynamism to the sketch. Also, I was not so happy with the perspective of this wheel I put there. So I said, okay, let's exaggerate it even more. Let's stretch the rim a little bit more and rotate it so we can hide this perspective mistake, let's say, a little bit better. So that's what I did there. Then here we start to refine the surfaces. Like this is the fun part, because over all the other layers, like other color layers, but under the sketch layer, I just do very big brush strokes. Like here you can see the light blue, dark blue, and a little bit of the reflection of the environment. I just paint them next to each other, side by side, and it adds this nice metallical feeling. Then I use my blocked black colors to move them up. So this way, as you see, when we turn on and turn off, it adds this metallic, nice reflective surface there. I do the same for this whole front area. First, very big brush strokes with this dark blue to add a little bit more surface feeling, and then adding the environment. And as you see, it's already getting more reflective surface rather than this blurred blue blob area. And cleaning on each surface. So when you divide the surfaces, like the muscle is for me the division line there. So I paint them separately. You don't need to paint the whole car at once. So step by step you can make it more realistic. As you see, we added this metallic feeling already to the bonnet area as well. Let's speed up here. Now here I wanted to show what I mean by these lights. Like this is my core light area. I didn't mark it for the headlight. It's the light source. Our big key light hits there. And then the secondary area is a little bit more still light, but not the brightest. And the third area, we call it the Fresnel effect. Basically, the Fresnel effect is when the surface is 90 degrees to you, you see this angle, the real color of the surface. But when the surface starts to curve and when you start to see it with more angle, you start to see the reflection of the environment more. So that's what we do here. And also, when we go out from our focus point of the car, it's better to blend it to background a little bit more. So when we see the sketch first, we directly focus on where we want audience to focus. So there are different levels of this light. And then I start to add the details, like I do this surfacing thing to different areas of the car as well. Let's speed up a little bit here and adding more harsh light, a little bit more stronger light on the front area. And this, what I'm doing here with the pen tool, I refine a reflection of the light. So this shows like an additional glossy feeling on the car, like a clear coat, let's say. And it shows kind of like, it's not section lines are these on the sketch, but this also shows how the light would move on the surface. And by subconsciously, whoever look at the sketch, they will feel the surface there, smooth and metallic surface. And then lowering the opacity, and it works pretty cool. Then I do the same with the rest of the car a little bit, and adding this glass reflections also. One is very blurred and soft brush, one is with the hard brush because it's a glass, so it will have both type of reflections. And refining a little bit more the wheel arch area, then the background. And here I decided to add the rim light in a different color. Rim light basically is a light coming from a bit further, not the main light, to show the silhouette of the car. So the rim light is to separate the car from the background. And normally, generally I would use white light, but here I decided to use kind of pinkish light to add a little bit more dreamy feeling, let's say, a little bit more abstract rather than the white light. And if we fast forward, let's see how it looks. And then at the end, I'm adding white brush strokes to bring back this sketchy feeling again and emphasizing this rim light. Here, adding very basic sketchy grills. Like, it's all up to you. If you want to spend more time, what we did with this metallic surface or adding more details, you can also block out these detailed areas and also paint them with brushes and big light sources and stuff. However, I just like this feeling of the graphical elements with a white thin brush because it adds nice flavor and it also shows the design. So I personally enjoy this type of details there, but still adding a little bit of light to add a little bit more depth to this area as well. So this is before after. Let's see. This was your sketch. Again, I didn't change the design much, but all these colors already added a bit more depth and metallic feeling. On yours, the painting part, as I said before, is the tricky part. Design wise, and all your little doodles and stuff are cool, but if we just switch the color, like darker tones and metallic reflections and stuff, it adds definitely different feeling. Then I didn't want to leave the headlights totally black, and I checked what you did and I started to do something similar there, where basically only the graphical elements, a little bit different proportions than yours. Like this is the main light, this is the secondary light. Then also adding a white reflection to this glass of the headlight. It depends on the design, but I like this kind of continuity with the outer surface, the body surface and the headlight. So I added the white reflection there. And the last thing on every sketch, like almost every sketch I do, is the camera raw filter on Photoshop. Basically, it's increasing the contrast, increasing the highlights, dropping the shadow. Like, depends on the sketch, depends on the mood. To me, it was a little bit too dark and it was not crispy enough, the sketch. It was too soft. So I decided to add a little bit clarity, a little bit contrast, and this type of, it's kind of like a secret sauce. Like, it's like filtering your photos on Instagram or anywhere, you know, just rather than the main thing, the raw thing, adding this type of filter, let's say, definitely increase the attractivity of your sketch. So why not to do that? Don't be afraid. And again, if you don't know how to do these things, they all are explained with details on my online course you can check out on my website, berkaplan.com. And after that, I decided to add a little bit more reflection on the ground, and here we go. Now, okay, wait, before here we go, I forgot to add the logo, because my logo, the one I sketched, seemed very tiny and super shy and even wrong. So I picked it from your sketch and pasted on my sketch, and here we go. And adding a little bit of kind of reference lines for the wheels to make it more look like this sketchy feeling again. By the way, before we go, I want to ask you something. Like today, when I'm recording this video, I also published another video, which is the BMW M2 design, like a very short review. And I'm curious if you enjoy this type of content as well, because what I know is I like to do more this educating type of content, like sharing my experience and knowledge about car design, how to sketch, how to render, how to 3D model, and that's why I have also my online courses, and more is coming on that. I want to do more stuff, more detailed stuff. But when I do this review type of videos, I see there is kind of like a good attraction to the viewers. There are more people watching it, so probably it's because of more entertainment and more regular viewing type of video. But I want to know what do you want to see more from this channel, because sometimes I'm questioning if I'm doing right by doing only the tutorials and stuff. So do you think should we go a little bit more onto this entertainment style of content, like reviewing new cars or telling my opinion about their designs, or we should stick to these tutorials and this type of review, like educative review stuff, checking out your works, or doing Blender tutorials, sketching tutorials, and so on. So let me know on the comments, please. I really care about your opinion. At the end, we are building this channel together, in my opinion. If I was talking only to myself, it wouldn't make any sense, right? And also thanks for all the support, by the way. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Keep sending your works to me at berkmydesign@gmail.com, and I will find a way to do it more often. I want to see more of your works and do this type of reviews. So thanks, and see you in the next video.